Welcome back to the Spire video blog. I'm here at Sunkissed Organics with Sasha. Say hi, Sasha.
Hi.
So we are taking a tour of her gardens today, and we just started talking about cowpeas. So Sasha, tell us what cowpeas are.
These are cowpeas, and from what I understand, you can actually eat them as a green bean. Yeah, go ahead. They have an earthy flavor to them when you eat them raw, which, you know, takes maybe an acquired taste. But you can take them and use them fresh like that, or you can cook them, or you can take them and shell them out when they start drying. A lot of people use them dried though.
Now, what have you done with them? Have you done anything with them?
I dried them and made some stuff with them last year playing around.
Okay.
Just threw them in with stuff.
Do they get bigger?
The pods, no.
Okay.
Nope, this is as large as they get. And there's always, like, they always come in pairs. So, like, green beans and stuff, when you pick them, there's, like, you know, a whole bunch just randomly. These guys go in pairs always. So they're always going to be on the end of the stem in a pair. And they'll produce all summer long. They take about a month and a half to dry down once they are fully mature.
And so this green pod will turn brown then when they're dried?
Mm-hmm.
Now you were telling me...
The beans are white.
Oh, when they're dried, they're white?
Yep, the beans are.
What do they taste like when they're dried?
They taste just like if you shelled out any dried bean, you know, similar to, you know, I put some in chili last year playing around, and they were pretty good.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
You were telling me you were preserving this for a lady in Iowa?
I am, yes. I got the seed from this Diane woman out in Iowa. She's a member of Seed Savers Exchange. And this variety was in her grandfather's garden. And it's been grown for, I believe, over 200 years. It's from the 1800s. So, yeah. So what they do is they, people in the Seed Savers Exchange will farm out their seed to other people to grow it, to preserve the varieties, so that in case they have something go wrong with their seed that year, like say an animal comes and takes out their whole crop, that somebody else has the seed to keep it going for the next year, because you have to keep growing out seed varieties in order to keep them fresh and where they can keep it growing.
So how many years have you had this crop?
I've had it 3.
So
it's my 3rd year on it.
Do you do that with a lot of your crops where you'll save seeds from year to year and use them?
Yeah,
Is that
I do. I save a lot of seeds. On tomatoes, some of the ones out in here are the field varieties because you have to isolate them by 8 foot. So I take them and I do buy in a lot of varieties of tomato seeds still. And pumpkin I have to buy in every year because any kind of squash variety has to be isolated by at least a 1/4 mile.
And let's talk about your tomatoes. How many different varieties of tomatoes do you have?
There's over 75 varieties out here this year.
And you have how many hundreds of plants?
2,300, I figured. Yeah.
So Sasha is, that's what she specializes in, growing heirloom tomatoes and peppers too. Everything's heirloom actually.
Yes, everything I grow is heirloom variety.
And tell us what heirloom means for our viewers
heirloom
who don't know.
Open pollinated, so it's a variety that can cross with the other varieties around it, but it hasn't been bred to be specifically for anything. They're usually the varieties, the actual crop off of them doesn't hold up as well as far as, you know, transportation wise. So that's why they're usually a little pricier in the store, because they have more risk of damage to them. So like if you take a tomato and you do an heirloom tomato as opposed to a hybrid tomato. A hybrid tomato has been bred so that it can ship, so it's going to have that core in the center to cushion it so when it travels. Where if you do an heirloom tomato, you slice it through, it's solid flesh, so it's not going to have that cushion to it. So they bruise real easy. They have a thinner skin to them, whereas a hybrid has a thick skin to it, and the flavor hasn't really been bred into hybrids yet, because they're really working on more disease resistance and shipping, you know, things on those.
And hybrid tomatoes tend to be your perfectly round red tomatoes, whereas heirlooms have funky colors, funky shapes.
They're ugly tomatoes.
Right, but they taste wonderful.
Yeah.
What do you think is your #1 selling heirloom tomato?
Usually black Krim or Cherokee purple, which are the darker ones. On heirloom tomatoes, the darker they are, usually the richer the flavor is, the more robust tomato-y type flavor. The lighter they are, the higher the sugar content, so they're a little sweeter then.
Can you show us some of your tomatoes? Let's walk over here. So what other, you have a lot of squash here too, I see.
Yep, I have patty pans. I just picked the patty pans, but there's some still on there, littler ones. And then there is 2 different varieties of regular zucchini this year. There's Genovese and Black Beauty. And then there is, and then, what else is out there? There's a white patty pan somewhere. I don't know which row it is, but somewhere in that section.
We see some yellow ones hanging on the vines.
We need to get a lot more water to them. Once they start flowering, you almost have to flood them.
Why is that?
That's how the nature of them. They make up such a high percentage of water to them, the plant. These are ox hearts. These are ox hearts grow in a heart shape. They're solid flesh all the way through. I don't have a knife on me. But They're solid flesh all the way through, and they have hardly any seeds to them. They're a nice and meaty tomato. You can use pretty much anything. They grow pretty uniform in shape. They're pretty good size, but there's some variation on them. Sun sugars, which are just like Sun Golds. Sun Gold is a hybrid to it.
Yeah.
It just is bred to produce more, is what Sun Gold does. And you know, those are really high in sugar content. They're really sweet, you know, as far as flavor. What else is out in this field?
Peppers.
What is one thing that you can suggest our viewers can do with tomatoes? Because we're all used to, you know, putting them on sandwiches, making
far as cooking
caprese
with them?
salad. How, you know, sauces, of course, spaghetti sauce, pizza
Yeah.
sauce. What are some other interesting ways you've worked with some of your tomatoes?
I take tomatoes and like these bigger guys like this, I'll go and slice the bottom off and the top off and scoop it out.
Mhm.
You know, I just slice the bottom enough to where it will sit flat in like a baking pan. I'll scoop the insides out and put them in a bowl and mix it up with some chopped basil and some mozzarella, and then I'll scoop it all back in, and then you bake it on like at like 400 for probably about 10-15 minutes, just until the cheese starts bubbling over.
We actually have at the restaurant a stuffed tomato that we fill with mascarpone cheese and fresh basil, and then the filling from the tomatoes that we scooped out and some Asiago cheese. So very similar to that. It's
That
quite
sounds better,
delicious.
actually.
Yeah. It's a little bit more fattening than your version,
Well,
but you know,
I think
it's
it
still
sounds
quite
really
delicious. Yeah. So it's a great way too, and you can do those on the grill. You know, stuff your tomatoes and then just put them on indirect heat on your grill is another great way to cook those.
I can put pepper in.
Now we see a lot of flowers growing around, and of course they look beautiful, but there's a purpose to them.
They are companion planting is what I do out here. So the marigolds go in because they will keep a lot of the pests away. They will keep potato bugs, they'll keep tomato worms, all sorts of things. I do marigolds in with all of my potatoes. So these were potato rows that are now dug out, and that way too, you know, it keeps a lot of the pests away because we don't do any kind of spraying. We don't, you know, we just kind of leave it to Mother Nature, and then we hand pick stuff.
And the last thing I want to touch on, because we started talking about it earlier, are your ducks and your chickens.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a lot of interesting breeds
do.
there.
I think there's probably over 30 breeds right now over there, and they're all on the American Livestock Breed Conservatory list as far as they're all on the watch list. So they're either critically endangered, near extinction. Like my ducks I have in Kona's, I was telling Brad that there's less than 500 breeding pair in the world. So they're just breeds that fell out of popularity because like chickens and ducks and that, anymore the varieties that they're using like you find in the grocery store and that are either all completely bred to be meat ducks or chickens or egg laying varieties. So these are all dual purpose poultry as far as they could go either way. It's just they won't get huge as far as a meat duck goes, and they won't lay, you know, like 3 eggs a day as far as a chicken, you know, as far as a laying breed goes. But they both are where they're multi-purpose. So, you know, they could lay for years and then you could still use them as a good quality meat duck still because they don't grow as quickly, you know, as far as, so there a lot of varieties now, a lot of your breeds, they grow so quickly, they're bred to be that way that their bones and stuff don't form correctly. So their bones can't hold that weight, so they can only live to be like maybe a year max old, you know, because they won't be able to hold up well. Where these guys, like your normal chicken laying breed, they are in production for 3 years. Ours can last probably about 10 years laying eggs and be fine still.
Well, thank you, Sasha. This was very informative. This was a great visit. Tell us how we can find your produce. What can we find?
Well, we're on Facebook as Sunkissed Organics, and I also do farmers markets over at Spire on the 3rd Thursday of the month, and I also do 61st Street Market in Hyde Park in Chicago, and the 1st and 3rd Sundays of the month at Chicago Botanic Gardens.
And can they come out here to your farm too?
They can. You'll
As
have
long
to
as you're here.
give me a holler first.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And this has been a great episode of our Spire Video blog. As always, if you have any suggestions or questions, follow us on Facebook or on Twitter. Until next time, thank you.